Before we get going with this episode, I need to say a massive thank you to the hundreds and hundreds of people who applied to be on Kids v Adults. Applications have now closed for this round, but there will be another time to enter for the next round at some point in 2024. So make sure that you're following the podcast on whatever podcast platform you listen on so you don't miss it. Right, it's time to get into the episode. Welcome to the Football for Kids podcast with me, Darren Rees. In this episode, we're going to be speaking about the Portugal and Manchester United player, Bruno Fernandes. Before we do that, a big thank you goes to everyone who's been leaving 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you haven't rated the podcast 5 stars yet or hit the follow or subscribe button, please do that now. It will be much appreciated and it helps other people find the podcast, because the more people that follow and subscribe and give the podcast 5 stars means the higher it will go into the podcast charts. Before we get into the episode, a couple of your 5-star reviews. The first one is from JRC. 5 stars. Hi Darren, I'm John and I'm 11 years old. This is an epic podcast and I love it. Please, if you can, do a podcast on Harry Kane, because I think he's a goal-scoring machine. But I'm a Newcastle United fan, so it would be cool if you could do a podcast on Newcastle. P.S. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my cousin's YouTube channel, Master Matt 2000. Well, John, a massive shout out to you. Thank you so much for giving the podcast 5 stars and for leaving a review. I've actually done a podcast on Harry Kane. It was about a year ago. It will be one of the first 20 episodes, I think. So please go and have a search for that and I'm sure you'll find it. The next one says, Hi Football for Kids, 5 stars. Hi Darren, my name is Xavier. I'm 11 and I love the pods. I listen to them every night. I would love for you to do a pod on Garnacho because he's my favourite player. Thank you, bye. P.S. Can you give me a shout out? Well, Xavier, 11 years old, the person who left a 5-star review on the podcast, a massive shout out goes to you. Right then, let's get into this episode about Manchester United's captain, Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Miguel Borges Fernandes was born in Maia, Portugal, on the 8th of September 1994. Bruno grew up supporting the Portuguese team Boa Vista, which is a club in the coastal city of Porto. Bruno followed them as much as he could, as he really liked the vibe of the club. He even went on to play for them in his youth career. Dream stuff for any footballer. Bruno loved football from a very young age and played in the streets of Portugal with his older brother Ricardo. I have been very lucky to spend a lot of time in Portugal over the years, and I used to play football on the streets in Portugal when I was a kid. And let me tell you, the Portuguese kids were sensational with a football, even at a very young age. Anyway, this podcast isn't about me. Back to Bruno Fernandes. Bruno loved football, but another thing which he loved was animals. So much so that he had some thoughts that when he was younger, he thought about being a vet. Apart from loving animals and the thought of helping them when he was older, Bruno also used to love watching them, and he loved the film The Lion King. He used to watch it all of the time when he was younger, and even to this day, it's one of his favourite ever films. It's claimed that Fernandes' dad moved to Switzerland when he was younger, but Bruno didn't want to go because he said that the standard of football in Switzerland wasn't as good as the standard of football in Portugal. It's also said that Bruno Fernandes started his youth career days at a Portuguese club called Infesta. And although he is best known these days for being an attacking midfielder, Bruno has played in almost every position on the pitch, but started his career off as a centre-back and sometimes played right-back as well. He was even a second-choice goalkeeper in one match. From Infesta, he joined the club he supported as a child, where he developed into a great attacking midfielder. And at the age of 18 years old, Bruno Fernandes went to play football in Italy. Fernandes was said to have found it tough at first, as he felt homesick and missed his friends and family back in Portugal. He eventually started to feel better and was enjoying his football. And it wasn't long before he got himself a nickname, which was the Maradona of Novara, as Novara was the Italian football team that he was playing for. After just a few weeks of playing in the youth side of Novara, Fernandes' talent and ability was spotted, and he was then promoted to play for the first team, where he made his mark on the game and showed the Italians the sort of player he was. Around a year after playing football in Italy, the name Bruno Fernandes was becoming very well known across the Italian clubs. And because of this, Inter Milan and Juventus showed interest in signing him. He didn't end up going to either of those clubs. Instead, he went to an Italian club called Udinese, where he spent a few seasons developing his craft. In 2017, after moving to another Italian club, Bruno went back to his beautiful homeland of Portugal to play for one of the top teams in the country. Bruno was off to play for Sporting Lisbon, a team that has had the likes of Luis Figo and Cristiano Ronaldo play for them. Bruno didn't muck about when he joined Sporting, as he scored 4 goals in his first 5 league games for the club, and it wasn't long before the name Fernandes was appearing on the back of many of the fans' football tops. Between the years of 2018 and 2020, Bruno Fernandes was on fire. He scored so often over 2 seasons that he became not just the highest scoring midfielder in Portugal, but the highest scoring midfielder in the whole of Europe. With his goals capturing the eye of the football teams all around the world, it was inevitable that Bruno Fernandes would end up in one of the biggest leagues in the world. And in the 2019-2020 season, Fernandes went to Manchester United. United brought him for a lot of money, and since then, Bruno has played over 200 games, becoming a fan favourite. Fernandes has scored many great goals for United over the years, but he actually made history when Manchester United played Brighton away. It was 2-2, and in the 100th minute of the game, Bruno Fernandes scored to win the game for United and stick his name down as a player to score one of the latest goals in Premier League history. Did you know that Bruno Fernandes wears the number 8 on the back of his shirt? And the reason for this doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the position that he plays in. Bruno's dad was also a footballer, but he never made it to the levels that Bruno has. Bruno's dad used to wear the number 8 on the back of his shirt, and Bruno wanted number 8 as a tribute to him. Bruno was also born on the 8th of September, and he has a tattoo of the number on his arm. The number 8 means a lot to Bruno Fernandes, and he wears that shirt with pride. Fernandes, since 2020, has shown what a leader he is. When things haven't gone United's way, he has stood out for being a player who has kept his teammates focused, motivated and positive. And in 2023, that was recognised when he was made to be the captain of Manchester United Football Club, a huge honour and a privilege for any player. Fernandes still gives it everything he's got in every game, and according to the official Premier League stats website, he has created more chances than any other player in the whole of the league this season. Other than lighting up pitches for the clubs which he has played for over the years, he has also been representing his country of Portugal since the under-19s and won the UEFA National League with his countrymen in 2019. So, from the streets of Portugal to the theatre of dreams, Bruno Fernandes is a League Cup winner, an FA Cup finalist, a Nations League trophy holder and the captain of one of the biggest teams on the planet. He's done it because he worked his socks off. He's done it because he kept going and kept trying. And he's done it because, most importantly, he never, ever gave up. I hope that you've enjoyed listening and learning about the truly brilliant career so far of Bruno Fernandes. And remember, if you know someone who loves football just as much as you do, then please tell them about Football for Kids. And whether you're playing football soon, watching it on the telly, or pitchside, I hope that you enjoy the game. See you next time. Oh, and before you go, make sure you hit that follow or subscribe button. And if you really want to help out, give the podcast a 5-star review. See you soon.